This is dedicated to all my beautiful queens, all my beautiful ladies out there. She's a queen. Go queen. You got it, girl. She's a queen. You better represent. Go queen. Go queen. Go. She's a queen about her business. Queen. Working hard on a mission. Yeah. Head high, purpose driven. Purpose driven. Crown will never tilted. Queen. Go queen. Go queen. Go queen. Go. Represent. You're a queen. You're a queen. Oh.
So thank you guys for joining another episode of the Q Chat podcast. And today I have a very special guest. And once again, shameless plug for people that should be listening to the Q Chat every single week. You should be familiar with this guest. This is Mr. Patrick Ladonis. He's an actor and he also created the web series Scales. We had a great conversation last year. So I wanted to have him back on the show because now here comes season 3. So I'm going to go ahead and give Patrick the floor so he can first off tell us about Scales, just to familiarize you guys, and for anyone that hasn't seen the show, just to give everyone a background. So we're going to have a great chat on the new season of Scales and just to chat and catch up. So how are you doing today?
I am doing great, and it's always good to see you. So thank you for having me back. And this is good. I love coming to visit and hang out with you. You're awesome. So I'm definitely excited to talk about Scales and season 3.
Awesome. Well, we have that bond over Issa, my dementia in my mind. So we'll forever be friends.
Yes. So Scales is a show it's really about people trying to find balance. It centers around Remy Howard, a character, the character that I play, who's constantly trying to have a balance between his love life, his work life, and his friendships. And I think this season, you're going to really, I don't even know how to describe season 3, with the exception of there's a lot of growth in terms of our production value. The music is next level, but the story is a story that, after episode 3, it's like a roller coaster of emotions that's going to happen. So everyone's going to be trying to find their balance, and they actually might get it come the final episode, the series season finale. I'm sorry, episode 6.
Wow. So I did watch the first 3 episodes before we joined this chat, and I did pick up that Remy started definitely entangled again. So Scales is like the perfect, title for this show, because he's definitely still trying to find that balance, work, his love life. So, that was, of course, very interesting. I did pick up on, especially at the end of, I believe it was episode 3, the way it ended, the aesthetic, with the bike riders and everything. I was like, okay, I love it, love it, love it. So I know we touched on this on our first interview, but I do want to ask you again, for new people to the show. So of course, your show fashions the same setup as Issa Rae's Misadventures of Awkward Black Girl, the short series. So obviously with COVID, it started causing a lot of issues with people recording, things like that. So can you tell us about just the challenges that you faced filming season 3 as opposed to when you first started the show?
Sure. And, I'm glad you brought up Awkwardly Black Girl and Issa, because as you know, we share that kindred love for her. So yeah. When COVID happened, we had just had our first week of rehearsal for season 3, and this was a year ago. Mm-hmm. And I hope people don't jump on me for this, but after that moment, you really have that, not what would Jesus do, but what would Issa do? Issa would make it happen. She would make it happen. Yes. And so that's where the pivot happened. So despite still being in this global pandemic, I had to really think, how can we make this story happen? Because I knew I wanted a season 3, and I didn't want to further keep it, pushing it. I didn't want the show to lose its steam. So what happened is we got creative. We said, okay, let's give it a couple of weeks, but we'll make the show really feel the depths of Atlanta, because season 1 and 2, while, like you're right, the series was limited in time. It felt very sitcom like, because everything was taking place at Remy's house, the Keller family house, Gavin and Sheila. It was like 3 locations. This time, because of COVID, we were able to really incorporate Atlanta. So you see the characters outside, they're at the park, they're all over, they're literally all over because, to be safe, we were able to shoot outside, a lot of fresh air. And visually, I think the weather was perfect. You're going to see these people in places that if you've been to Atlanta or live in Atlanta, you're like, oh, I know where this place is. Oh, Fourth Ward Park. I know this place. Punt City Market. I know this place. So COVID really, despite it having such hard repercussions on us as a country, a world, a nation, creatively, it kicked up my creative juices. And I feel that it actually made me better as a creative, as a writer, as a producer, and the content is next level. I mean, I think people are going to be blown away when they watch this season of Scales.
Awesome. You won't believe this, but you actually stole my idea on how I was planning to end the show. I was going to end it on what would Issa do instead of asking you, how do you define a queen? So like, I'm telling you, we're just going to end up being best friends eventually. So like, I can't believe you said this. So let me scale back a little bit. So what's in your future for Scales? Because we just finished season 3. Do you have plans for season 4? Are you hitting the books and writing some new scripts? Like, what's for the future with your productions and, your work?
Well, on a really exciting note, we're season 4 of Scales. Again, season 4, we've already started talking about season 4. So season 4 is going to be next. It's just season 3 was next level. Season 4 it's on a whole nother realm because again, the ending of season 3 is really fire. But this summer, I'm actually going to start shooting Spades. I don't know if you remember me talking about Spades.
You sure did.
People are dating everybody stupid. We got it greenlit. We are filming it in June. So I'm hoping it'll make like a early Labor Day debut. And it's kind of like I don't want to call it a spinoff because Kim, who plays Sheila's sister, it's kind of a show with her and her girlfriends and dating in Atlanta. So I'm really excited to tell that story. I am writing some other projects. Of course, we're only doing 5 seasons of Scales, which, Insecure came out with it first, but I was like, well, we were going to do 5 too, but, whatever. So, yeah, that's kind of what's happening. Scales, Spades, promoting it a lot. I'm going to actually, I'm probably more proud. I'm prouder of season 3 than probably, of course the pilot was exciting because I got to, actually do it, see my dream come alive. But season 3 is so rich. The acting is up a level and visually the music, I'm going to be entering it in a lot more competitions than in previous seasons. So.
Wow. And what was that station that you mentioned? That Reverie. Okay. So how's everything going with that?
Everything's going well with Reverie. They've been really supportive in pumping. Like I've been featured in a couple of. They've had articles published about me. They've been marketing Scale seasons 1, season 2. It's been playing a lot. It was in the top 10 best shows for 2020 on their platform. So I'm excited to see what happens in the partnership with them as we shoot season 4. That's what I said. Season 4, what we got planned for season 4, I'm telling you, it is a whole nother level of what I didn't. For a web series, it's a whole nother level of what we're trying to do. So
have you completely written all of season 4, or are you just in the works with it?
Well, season 4, the first 2 episodes of season 4 has been written, as well as the final episode, like season 5. Like I wrote the ending when I wrote season 1 because I knew exactly how I wanted the show to end. So now we're trying to get to the end. So season 5, the final episode, it's done. It's there. And I try not to look at it because I get kind of like, oh God, it's coming to an end, but it's time. So
So once Scales ends, and I know you're doing Space, but what is in the future once it ends? You know, because I mean, that's your baby. So, like, what do you see for yourself once it ends?
Well, once I finally retire Remy, I am going to really focus on really just writing and producing other projects that other people star in, not so much.
Mhm.
But I will give you this exclusive. I'll give you this
Mm.
exclusive. I am 80% sure that I will most likely do a Scales film. I
Oh,
want
wow.
to do a Scales film for sure. I'm pretty sure I'm going to do a film version of Scales, especially after people see the ending of season 5. I feel like I have to come back and do a film. That's what my creative spirit has been telling me is you've got to write a film, a you've got to write a film, a feature, and put a bow on Scale. So that's gonna happen. So you know it. I've talked about it to some of the production people, but now you really know it. I'm gonna do that.
Oh, wow. That's amazing. And just hearing that makes me think of Noah's Ark, which is another show that I used to love, which wasn't, a short setup, it's like the full 28 minutes, but it still makes me think of that, with the setup with the friends and everything. And when they did the reunion recently, when they had the movie, I think it gives people more closure. Hint, hint to Issa Rae if she comes across this video. Like, we need a movie. Like, you can't just leave us at season 5.
We do. We still need Issa to give us a movie. Yes.
Yes, like we need a movie, something, a book, something. I need something, a podcast, whatever you got to do. I
A
need to be
tour,
connected to
an
Issa
outdoor
D.
tour, or something where we can meet the cast of Insecure. Something.
Yes, I need to know what Issa D is doing in the next 10 years. I need to know if Molly's going to get married, have some children. Kelly, I need more. Like, I'm not going to be satisfied at the end of season 5.
Me too.
Like, I already see it. So who are some of your, and obviously we talk about Issa a lot, but who are some of your, like, your dream, collaborators? Is there anyone that you would just really love to whether write for, produce for, or act with, or have on any of your projects? Who are some of your people on your wish list?
Jordan Peele is on my wish list because I do dabble in the sort of like Us. Like, I do kind of like the almost horror type of Black horror film type of thing. I would like to work with him. And from like an acting standpoint, I really would like to work with gosh, I can't think of his name. What's it? Kendrick Sampson. He plays Nathan.
Oh, Nathan. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've been dabbling with the civil rights script that the character that I'm working on, I kind of visually see him in the role. So those were
Mm-hmm.
like Kendrick Sampson and Jordan Peele are like the two people I would like to meet in a room, pitch some things to, and see what could happen.
Nice. Kendrick Sampson, I do like, just been watching him too, especially with the Black Lives Matter movement, catching a lot of his lives. And I mean, he's right there in the front lines. Last year, doing a lot of protests, like he's like right there. So, it's like when you get a peek of like someone's life outside of, a show or whatever, like sometimes you bond more with them. So I really, 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 really do like what he's doing for sure.
Yeah, me too.
So with Scales, of course, you're, like I said, you already got it down on how you're going to end the show. So when you first initially thought of Scales, because I've heard some other people, I can't think of them offhand, like they'll be like, oh, well, when I started the show, I knew how it was going to end. I'm not sure if I've heard Issa Rae say it, but I've heard some people say that from the beginning, like when they started the show, like they knew exactly how it was going to end. Was that on your mind too? Like when you wrote Scales, like you knew how you was putting Remy to bed?
Yes, and I actually heard it from Shonda Rhimes. I
Mm-hmm.
heard her say that with Grey's Anatomy, it's like she kind of knew how she would want the show to end. And so when I started writing Scales at the time, I remembered her saying that, and I just did a rough draft when I was in Barcelona writing the first episode. I wrote the ending. I was like, this is how I want Remy, David, and Gavin to be at the very end of this show. And now I just got to get them there. So like, I know their final destination. So that's why, and season 3 actually is going to give viewers a hint of what the future might look like for Remy and David. So.
Wow. What inspires you to write about these characters? Because when I was watching it, I was like, wow, like, Remy's love life is very interesting, and you're right, he's trying to find some balance, but it seems like, at least for the first 3, it's like when he gets a little close, like does something, happen? So like, what inspires you to even come up with those storylines?
Well, I think it's a little bit, and again, our girl Issa said it best. You typically write from some of your own experiences or your friends' own experiences. So a lot of this journey is from things that I've experienced when I was, of course, a lot younger, and just things that stories friends of mine have said. And I was like, that didn't really happen to you. And then they would show me the receipts. And then I'm like, oh, okay. So this really did happen. And so my mind works in that way. And it's just, when I'm with Scales, I'm constantly thinking of, because representation matters. So of course, as a person of color, I want people to see that, but I also want people to see, I want people to move the lens beyond the fact that Remy is a gay character or a gay person, and just be like, where people be like, oh, I do this, like where you don't even really see because we all have been young and dumb and done stupid stuff. And, sometimes even to this point, when our relationship with our significant others isn't right, it messes with our whole, how we show up at work, how we show up with other friends, and then how we try to keep it together in front of our friends when stuff is going, so it's literally that, except the people are seeing the lens through Remy, who happens to be in relationships with the same sex.
And I could definitely say that, just as a straight woman, I watch Scales and I still relate to Remy. Like you said, we've all gone through relationships, ups and downs, things with friends and work, so I just feel like you really truly can watch this show and connect with him, because it's like, I feel like you don't really notice it. I mean, it's like you're watching a show about relationships. So I just feel like a person can watch it, whether you're, like I said, I'm a female, let's say I'm just taking sexuality out of it. Just as a woman, I can watch it and relate to Remy, like, okay, I get it. So I feel like there's so many different angles that someone can watch it and they can be like, okay, like this is funny, it's entertaining, and I totally get where he's coming from. So I think that's a mark of really, and that's what I feel like any writing wants to do. Like they want to write something where anyone can watch and really engage with it. So I definitely think you've accomplished that for sure. So obviously, since you kind of took my thunder with the what would Issa do?
We're connected. I mean, how to do it, Issa. It's just, I felt like that was coming in your mind, so it just transferred over to me.
That really amazes me. So I want to switch it a little bit then. So let's say Remy was a part of the Insecure group, with Kelly and Issa and Molly and Tiffany. And Lawrence, of course. How do you think Remy would fit into that group? If you could think of a treatment for the show, let's say you got just this dream presentation in front of you, you have to write a treatment for an episode of Insecure. What would you do? And also you have to incorporate Remy in it.
I almost feel that Remy would be Kelly's cousin that comes to visit. And he's a hot mess, and Kelly sort of, I could see him like not being a part of the show all the time, not a series regular, but definitely like how they did the Coachella, like he would be Kelly's unstable, like the reason why Kelly's able to deal with Issa, because she's like, oh, I got one at home, or I got one in the family too, or whatever. And it would just kind of be about him being a hot mess, interacting with them. He would probably, how Remy is about clothes, he'd probably hit it off with Tiffany a little bit, because Tiffany's a little, because Remy's not as over the top as Tiffany, but Remy cares about how he looks and how he dresses. And I know Tiffany's kind of like that way. So I could see them like having, Kelly's cousin hanging out with Tiffany and it pisses her off, but just kind of how when Tiffany had the baby and she was kind of Kelly off to the curb a little bit and Kelly felt some kind of way. I could see that being like a whole thing, and then it was like, this is why we don't have dudes hanging out with us and not, something like that. So I could see that happening.
Yeah, I could definitely see that for sure. So one of the other things I've noticed, obviously we bond, we follow each other on IG. I noticed like sometimes you'll make posts too, like encouraging artists, like, hey, if you're a writer, work on your story, things like that. So what would you say for someone that tunes into this episode and have all these ideas in their mind? Hint myself, they haven't put it on paper yet. What would you say to just give them some words of encouragement, but
love don't feel like this. Love is sweet, love is kind. Why you just twist my
some words of encouragement, but also just give them some ideas on how to. I just think there's obviously a different process from taking it from your mind and putting it on paper, and making the vision come to life. Writing is not an easy thing, coming up with different creative things and unique things. What would you give to someone as a point of advice on how to just put that dream into fruition on paper?
I would tell them that one, I don't want to get all, I think it's Langston Hughes that says, what happens to a dream deferred?
Oh yeah.
So you don't want to keep putting it off, and then you tune in 5 years from now or something and see someone telling your story. It's like, I thought about that, I wrote that. So I would tell someone like you or anyone else that's, an aspiring writer, you can't become that writer until you actually put pen to paper. And even if it's only a page, set a small goal. Like just say, you know what, by the end of April, I'm gonna write at least 2 pages. And you never know, you may do 3 or 4. And then by then build up the writing endurance. It's almost like a muscle. You're working out. You get better the more you continue to do it. So I would just tell those people that want to do it, again, pointing at you, tell your story, write it down. Don't let fear get in your way. And again, you're writing your story. No one really can really tell the story, or at least your story, better than you can. So I would literally make a commitment to at least write 2 pages and then increase that goal as you continue to go forward, because it's in you. It's in all of us. So that's my encouragement. So 2 pages by the end of the month. And if you want to share it, I'd love to read it.
I love that. I love that. So I want you to give everyone more information about how they can watch Scales and what to look forward to. So give everyone all the information on how they can find you.
Sure. You can find me on Instagram at I am Patrick Ladonis. You can follow me there. You can follow the show on Instagram at Scales the Web. Also at Scales Series on Twitter, and Patrick Ladonis on Twitter. The series Scales, you can watch the first 3 episodes on YouTube. Just type up Scales the Web Series. You can also find us on ReverieTV.com, where you can watch seasons 1, 2, and soon to be 3, which is coming out in April. Oh wait, it is April, so it's coming out the end of this.
Right. And when can we expect Spades? So like, what's the timeline with that?
The goal is for Spades to drop around Labor Day, because I feel like the vibe of what we're shooting, it just feels right for Spades to drop during Labor Day. I just think that that'll be a good time for people to check out Spades as Labor Day.
Okay, awesome. So thank you again, of course, for being on the Q Chat. Like, you're one of my favorite people to talk to.
First, because we have we're gonna have an Insecure like screening or something, because we're gonna have to really, that first episode, we're gonna have to have some time We're gonna have to
We're definitely having a screening. Like when I made the post last week about Insecure, so many people were messaging me because I actually was doing like a little group after Insecure during COVID last year, especially because we were all anti. So we would get on the Zoom calls and just talk about Insecure, like some real fans. So we'll definitely have to link up once season 5 starts.
It could be a clubhouse room that you create where people come in and talk about that. So bam, and you can call it "What Would Issa Do?" There you have it.
Yes. And actually, I'm still going to ask you that what would Issa do question. So let's say Issa has been in any situations like Remy, which she has. Let's have a what would Issa do moment. How would Issa emerge into Scales? Let's say she was a guest star in season 5.
First, oh gosh, let me talk that into the universe.
Yes, let's speak it.
Issa would probably be helping Remy launch a new venture because season 3 deals with, you'll see what Remy at work, and some major things are about to happen with Remy's work life and his love life. And he's gonna probably be looking for a fresh start. And so Issa would be the person with her events and stuff, planning something to help get Remy back out into the Atlanta echelon society, hip hop world. Because I think Remy's gonna probably end up doing something. He's gonna end up doing something pretty big, I think.
Okay. Perfect. So I like that for that what would Issa do moment. I'm here for it. So we're gonna speak it. Every time we talk, we need to just mention her name, even if we're talking about wearing face masks. We just need to make sure we say Issa before the conversation is.
Right. Issa's our mantra. So it's Issa.
Right.
So yeah.
Like maybe incorporate her just like, the old Candyman movie. Like just keep saying her name.
I was like, I didn't want to put Issa with Candyman. I was gonna say like Candyman, but absolutely, yes. That's
yes. Issa. Because we need to speak that in the universe. Like I said, if anyone even watches the show that has a connection to her, these are her biggest fans right here. Hey.
We need to interview her. So just tell her to come on her show. Q Chat is where it's at, and just hang out. I would tune in and I would pass.
Well, like I told you, I'd have to have a physical before the interview happens. I don't think I would be able to handle it. Like I said, but before I talked to Raheem Devon, like I literally thought my cheeks were gonna burst during the recording. So for Issa, I can't imagine what would happen, but I would love to see what happens because I would love to talk to her. Like she's my shero. So thank you again. Like I said, I could talk to you all day. I love your energy. I love what you're doing with Scales. I just love the short series setup. It just gives me, I just feel so nostalgic when I watch it. Like I just live for shows like that, so I just think it's such a good way to put your dream on camera, the short series. I just love the whole premise. So I love what you're doing. Much success to you with Scales and Spades and all your other future projects. And when you do work with Issa, make sure you drop my name because it's going to happen. We're going to speak
set with us. You'd be on set with us. What are you saying?
Right.
Right. Set with me for sure.
You'd
be covering it. You'd be covering it on your national platform. So there you have it.
I would be in Atlanta in like a heartbeat. So, but we're going to speak that into existence. So once again, everyone, thank you guys for joining the Q Chat. And please make sure you guys go to YouTube and watch the first 3 episodes of Scales and also watch season 1 and 2. It's an amazing show. And you can binge it, honestly. Like, you guys got time. I mean, we're still quarantining for the most part. So go ahead and binge it, catch up on it, and be on the lookout for all the future projects that Patrick is working on. He's great, and he's very talented. So once again, thank you guys for joining the Q Chat. Issa. Goodbye.